everybody, I am Tom and you are watching me play Solasta, Crown of the Magister. So this is a very in-depth D&D style RPG, very specifically based off the basic rules of D&D, so it's like hardcore RPG, so be ready for that. This first episode I'm going to go through all of the character creators and stuff like that. I believe... Yeah, so I want to go to the character creator. Yes. You create your characters first. You can see here I've created a few. There's also a few that you start with, just generally. So we're going to start a new character, and I'm going to go through all of the options of the character creator, which no doubt will take a while. So that's probably just going to be the first episode, is me going through this. So first, as you can see here, we have Ancestry, which is our race. We then have class, background, ability scores, proficiencies, and identity. So first things first, let's go over our race. We have the Dwarves. You can see here we have Dwarf, which is the general things they get, and then there are two subclasses of Dwarf. There is the Snow Dwarf, and there is the Hill Dwarf, which are separated down here. So, starting out, Dwarves get 5 movement, which essentially one square is 5 feet, so they have 25 feet of movement. They get +2 to their Constitution. They have Dwarven Resilience, so saving throw against poison, and they get proficiency or advantage on this and their resistance to poison damage, so they take half poison damage. They have proficiency with battle axes, hand axes, and warhammer, regardless of what their class they choose. And they have heavy armor training, so they're unaffected by heavy armor penalties. As for the Hill Dwarf, it has +1 into wisdom, +1 hit point per level, so quite tanky. Dark vision, see normally in dim light and in natural darkness as if in dim light. And they speak Common and Dwarvish. You can see the models there. The models are quite basic in this game. Going on to Snow Dwarves, they have the same traits as the other Dwarves, however they get +1 to their Dexterity. They have proficiency with heavy crossbows, dark vision just the same, and languages just the same. Moving on to the Half-Elf. You can see here they can move 6 squares, which is the average, that's 30 feet of movement. They get +2 to their charisma, and 2 other scores can be increased by 1. Half-elves are very strong classes, always have been in D&D, and always will be, I think. You can choose any 2 skills to get proficiency at. Dark vision. Same as the others, you can see normally in darkness. Fey Ancestry. Saving throw advantage against being charmed, and you're also immune to being put to sleep. And they speak Common, Elvish, and you can choose one other language for them to speak. They have no subclasses here, it's just half-elf. Next we have Human. Boring old humans, unfortunately. They're quite good as any class because they get +1 to all their ability scores. You can see here their movement is the same as 30 feet. And you speak Common, as well as one other language of your choice. As I said, kinda boring, unfortunately, for the humans, but they're very good at being any class you want, so that's something, I suppose. We then move on to the Elves. Elves have +2 to Dexterity. They have Fair Ancestry, so once again, you have advantage against being charmed, and you're immune to magical sleep. You can see in dark, you've got dark vision. Keen senses, you're proficient with the perception skill, which is quite nice. And trance, 4 hours of meditation are sufficient for rest. So a long rest ordinarily for most other classes is 8 hours. You need to sleep for 8 hours to be able to actually be fully rested. Elves, at least full-blooded elves, just meditate for 4 hours and they're good to go, which means they can use the other 4 hours to do other stuff, I assume. Otherwise, why even put it in the game? You know what I mean? I assume on a long rest they can do crafting or something. We'll see. I haven't actually played enough of this game to know for sure. I played the beta, by the way, is all I've done of this game. So, High Elf. They have movement of 6. Ability score is +1 to their intelligence. So, pretty much the best for Wizard, as it's the only one that gives +2 intelligence, I believe. They have They have elf weapon training. They're proficient with longswords, short bows, and longbows. Again, this is irrespective of what class you pick. High Elf cantrip. So, as a High Elf, you can choose one wizard cantrip using intelligence as your spellcasting modifier. So you just know a cantrip, which is a level 0 spell effectively. It's a spell you can use as much as you like. And they speak Common, Elvish, and one other language of your choice. We then move on to the Sylvan Elves, which again, same racial bonuses as the elf up top. However, they can move an extra space, so they're more swift than other people. They can move 35 feet in a turn. They have +1 to a wisdom as their ability score improvement. Elf weapon training, proficiency with longsword, short bow, and longbow. That's the same as the High Elf. And Sylvan adaptability, proficient in the survival and athletic skills, and you have advantage on survival when you're in hunting. And they speak Common, Elvish, Dwarvish, and Halfling. So they get lots of languages, they can speak to lots of different people. And moving on, we have Halfling, which is the final class. Movement is 5, just like the Dwarf. They're shorter, so they can't move as fast as the other races. 25 feet per turn. They get +2 to their dexterity. They're brave, which means they have advantage on saving throws against being frightened. They have the lucky feat, which is insanely good. When you roll a 1 on an attack roll, an ability check, or a saving throw, so when you roll a 1 on pretty much anything, it automatically gets re-rolled and you use whatever the next roll is. This only works once, so if you have a 1 and then you re-roll it and it lands on a 1 again, you just keep whatever that is, so you keep the second 1. But it's going to give you, on average, a higher chance of doing anything, effectively, because it just eliminates the chance of getting that 1 on the first roll. So it's fantastically good. And next we have Halfling Nimbleness. You can move through the space of any creature that is larger size than you. So they're classed as a small creature, so they can run through the legs of your other party members, essentially. Which is good to know. Now, for the Marsh Halfling, which is the first of the two sub-races, we have a +1 to Constitution. They can speak Common and Halfling. Areas with marshes and ponds and a humid atmosphere are considered swamp terrain. What this means, I believe, is that ordinarily a swamp would be difficult terrain, so you could only move half your distance in it. I think they can move their full distance in swamp terrain. I think it doesn't count as hard terrain for them. And they have dark vision. And then we have the Island Halflings, which once again, all the Halfling part at the top is the same, but they get a +1 into Charisma. They can speak Common Halfling and an additional language of their choice, and they have advantage on acrobatics checks, which are dexterity checks when you're trying to jump from one thing to another, for instance. That would be an acrobatics check to see whether you keep your balance. But that is all of the races. Moving on now to the classes. There's one extra one since I last played this, so Sorcerer apparently is a thing. It's from the Sorcerer update, it would seem. So I didn't even know this was a thing. Cool. First, we have the Clerics. This part is going to take a while because there is a lot of subclasses, and there's a lot of things to go through. I told you this is going to be a long episode. It's probably going to be a very long introductory episode. So, first things first, class Cleric. You have saving throw proficiency in Wisdom and Charisma. You are proficient with light armor, medium armor, shields, and simple weapons. So you can't use really complex weapons like longswords and things. You can only use maces and clubs and things like that. I think a short sword is technically a simple weapon, so you can use a sword if you like. So you don't have that kind of complex weapon proficiency, but ordinarily you don't need it as much. You can use 2 of the following skills, either History, Insight, Medicine, Persuasion, and Religion. You can cast spells from the Cleric spell list. Spellcasting with Clerics is essentially, at the start of every long rest, you can choose a list of the spells from your Cleric list, and they're the spells that you have for the day. That is how spellcasting works with Clerics. Ritual casting. You can cast a spell as a ritual if that spell has the ritual tag and you have the spell prepared. So once again, you prepare a spell from the spell list. Some spells you can do outside of combat, and you can cast them as a ritual, and it doesn't take... You know what I mean. We then move on to Divine Domains. Choose one of the Divine Domains granted by your deity. This here is what the subclasses are. There's quite a few of them, so we'll go through them in a second. And Scroll Scribing. You have been trained in Scribe Magic Scrolls. You have been trained to Scribe Magic Scrolls. It's a tongue twister. That means that you can take a spell that you have and you can turn it into a scroll, which means another character can use a spell, essentially. And then we have class equipment here. By default, you have a mace, a light crossbow, priest pack, holy symbol, which is just an amulet, allows you to cast your spells, scale mail, 20 crossbow bolts, and a shield. We can edit this equipment, and you can change it depending on your choice. You've got all the choices you can change around here. But I'm not going to go into that for now. You can see at higher levels here, at level 2, you gain Channel Divinity. You can use Channel Divinity actions once between rests. These will be determined by your subclass, mainly. But you also get the base Channel Divinity of Turn Undead. Channel Divinity to force undead creatures within 6 cells of you to flee, unless they make a successful Wisdom saving throw. So essentially, if there's an undead near you, you can channel your Divinity, and your Holy Light will make them turn away and run. Then at level 4, your ability score will increase. You can increase your ability scores. This is the same with all classes, not just the Cleric. Level 5, your Turn Undead turns into Destroy Undead. Channel Divinity to force undead creatures within 6 cells of you who you can see to flee unless they make a successful Wisdom saving throw. Undead creatures with a challenge rating of 0.5 or lower that fail the saving throw are instead destroyed. So essentially you just immediately destroy the creature. It just gets evaporated, which is cool, assuming it's a weak undead creature. Level 6, you get an additional Channel Divinity. And level 8, your ability score increases again, so just same as level 4, you get an increase your ability score. And your Destroy Undead goes up a bit, so more powerful undead are destroyed rather than being turned. So challenge rating of 1 or lower rather than challenge rating of a half or lower. So, with that, we can then go into the Divine Domains. Cleric is definitely going to be the longest here, because look at all of these. All of them follow a very similar vein. First things first is on level 1, you get domain spells, which will be different depending on what subclass you choose. But for the most part, this just means these are things that you have prepared, and they're always prepared on your list. You don't have to prepare them every day, and they're additional spells that you have in your arsenal. You can see here, you get some different stuff going down, but the thing that fits with all of them is the spell list. Level 2, you get a particular Channel Divinity ability. Level 6, you get the Scholar of the Elements. Let's just go through these separately, shall we? It's going to be the easiest way to do it. So we have Elemental Ice, Elemental Fire, and Elemental Lightning. These all differ very slightly, but essentially they're just elemental versions of the kind of elemental magic subclass of Cleric. So the list of spells is the same on each of them. It doesn't change. You get level 1, you get Thunderwave and Fog Cloud. At level 3, you get Levitate and Misty Step. At level 5, you get Lightning Bolt and Fly. Level 7, you get Ice Storm and Wall of Fire. Level 9, you get Cone of Cold and Conjure Elemental. Fire has Primary Harmony. Resistance to fire damage is halved. Resistance to fire, the damage is halved from fire damage. And you can cast the cantrip Firebolt. At level 2, you get Channel Divinity Fire Burst. Channel Divinity to cause 3d8 fire damage to a target within 12 cells. A successful dexterity save halves the damage. So essentially you can just do a fire burst on somebody. Level 6, you get Scholar of the Elements. Use your reaction to become immune to your domain element, so it heals you instead of wounding you. That's actually kind of cool. Level 8, Call Upon Fire. The target suffers fire damage and must succeed a strength save or be pushed. Can be used a number of times equal to your wisdom bonus until a long rest. And level 10, you get Divine Intervention. This is the same for all Cleric subclasses. You attempt to request the help of your deity with a success chance of 1% per Cleric level. I believe level 10 is the max level in this game. So essentially you've got a 10% chance that your Cleric will just help you. I have no idea how they've implemented this, but I love the fact that they tried. Ordinarily in tabletop, this is just done by your DM, right? You're like, I channel Divinity and your DM decides what that means. Harder to do in a video game context. I'm going to be intrigued to see how they pull it off. Nevertheless, Elemental Ice, same spells as I said, resistance to cold damage rather than fire damage, and the cantrip you get is Ray of Frost as opposed to Firebolt. Channel Divinity Ice Lance, use your Channel Divinity to target within 12 cells. The target must make a dexterity saving throw or be pushed away by 2 cells and suffer 2d8 cold damage. So you do a bit less damage, but you can push them away. Scholar of the Elements, same thing. You heal from ice damage. Call Upon Cold. The target suffers cold damage and must succeed in a strength save or become restrained until the end of the next turn. Can be used a number of times equal to your wisdom bonus until a long rest. So essentially you can free someone in place. That's cool. And once again, Divine Intervention. And then we have Lightning. Resistance to lightning damage, same spells. Shocking Grasp rather than the others for your cantrip. Channel Divinity Lightning Blade. Channel Divinity to cause 1d8 lightning damage to a target within 12 cells. On a failed dexterity save, the target is also stunned until the end of the next turn. That's... damn. Impressive. Scholar of the Elements. Once again, you heal on lightning damage. Level 8, you get Call Upon Thunder. The creature in the area must succeed with a con save or suffer thunder damage and become restrained until the end of the next turn. Can be used a number of times equal to your wisdom bonus until the long rest. And then Divine Intervention once again. We then move on to the Sun Cleric. They get a different set of domain spells. The Sun Cleric encompasses the power of cleansing light and warmth of the sun itself. Clerics who embrace this domain are beacons of light in a world of darkness. So you get Burning Hands and Fairy Fire at level 1. At level 3 you get Scorching Ray and Dark Vision. At level 5, you get Daylight and Hypnotic Pattern. Level 7, you get Fire Shield and Wall of Fire. At level 9, you get Flame Strike and Greater Restoration. You get Light as a bonus cantrip, and Holy Radiance. When you cast Sacred Flame, your target has disadvantage on the saving throw. So it just means your Sacred Flame is more effective, effectively. Level 2, Channel Divinity, Herald of the Sun. Channel Divinity to engulf a visible enemy within 6 cells with Radiant Light, causing 1d8 Radiant damage, plus 2 per Cleric level, half damage on a successful Constitution saving throw, and cause the Blinded condition for 1 minute, negated if saving throw was successful. So you can blind an enemy and do a bunch of damage to them, quite useful. Level 6, Channel Divinity, Indomitable Light. Channel Divinity to summon a sphere of sunlight which affects light-sensitive creatures and negates areas of darkness. So it's like a really it's almost like the Daylight spell, which is quite a powerful spell. Heal an ally and remove 1 detrimental condition. So I assume that's another Channel Divinity? His Soothing Hand, that's another choice you get. Divine Strike, 1d8 radiant damage on a weapon attack once per turn. So essentially, when you're at level 8, every weapon attack you do, you can just imbue your weapon with 1d8 radiant damage. That's cool. And once again, Divine Intervention. Next, we have the Battle Domain. The Battle Domain grants powerful combat spells, as clerics can deal damage as well as providing frontline healing. Battle Domain spells, you get Magic Missile and Shield of Faith. Magic Missile is a very good spell. Level 3, you get Acid Arrow and Flaming Sphere. Level 5, you get Fireball and Haste. Level 7, you get Stone Skin and Phantasmal Killer. I don't even know what that spell is. Level 9, you get Hold Monster and Insect Plague. You are proficient with all martial weapons, so if you choose this subclass, you can use any weapon you like, effectively, on the Cleric. Divine Fortification. As an action, you gain 3 temporary hit points per Cleric level. You recover these after a long rest, so you can, essentially once per long rest, you can just give yourself a bunch of extra HP, which is kind of cool. And Battle Magic. You can cast spells with a somatic component without a free hand, provided a weapon or a shield is being wielded. That's quite useful. Level 2, Decisive Strike. On a successful attack, channel Divinity to add 1d6 to your damage and stun your target. The save will negate this, and increases by 1d6 every 3 levels above level 2. It's cool, it's just damage. Level 6, Herald of Battle. Allies in adjacent cells gain +1 on attack rolls, damage, armor class, and saving throws. That's really cool. And level 8, you get Scholar of Battle. You can attack 1 more time per combat turn when you use the attack or shove action. And Divine Intervention, once again, at level 10. So you can attack twice per turn. That's quite nice. We then have the Domain of Law. The Law Domain focuses on protecting the innocent and punishing the guilty, granting powers and spells to control and tame the unlawful. The domain spells that you get are Heroism and Shield at level 1. Level 3, you get Branding Smite and Hold Person. Level 5, you get Counterspell and Lightning Bolt. Counterspell is cool. Level 7, you get Banishment and Guardian of Faith. Level 9, you get Hold Monster and Dispel Evil and Good. You get Proficiency in Intimidation and advantage on those intimidation checks. That's interesting. So you get proficiency with it and advantage on it, so you're very good at intimidating people. Advantage on rolls to resist being shoved or moved by magical means. Cool. So you can stand your ground and you can intimidate people. That makes a lot of sense. Channel Divinity, Holy Retribution. Well, when any melee attack damages you, you can use your reaction to Channel Divinity and strike back using a melee weapon, adding 2d6 plus your Cleric level on psychic damage. You also get Channel Divinity, Force of Law. Channel Divinity when casting an attack spell to impose disadvantage on your target saving throw. Cool. You can just use your Channel Divinity to give them disadvantage. That's always a powerful ability. Level 6, Word of the Law. Break the spell casting concentration of an enemy. Not even on a roll, according to this, just break it, which is kind of insane. Level 8, you get Anathema. Restrain a creature and inflicts force damage every turn until it succeeds with a wisdom save of 1 minute has passed. That's powerful, and again, Divine Intervention. We then have the bread and butter of clerics, which is the Life Domain, or the main healing class. The Life Domain focuses on the vibrant, positive energy, one of the fundamental forces of the universe that sustains all life and grants unrivaled healing abilities. So, the spells that you always have prepared. Level 1, you have Bless and Cure Wounds. Level 3, you get Lesser Restoration and Spiritual Weapon. Level 5, you get Revivify and Mass Healing Word. Revivify literally brings people back from the dead as long as you do it within a minute of them dying. Powerful. Level 7, you get Death Ward and Guardian of Faith. Level 9, you get Mass Cure Wounds and Raise Dead. Damn. Proficient with Heavy Armor, so you can wear Heavy Armor off the bat if you choose this subclass. Disciple of Life. When casting a healing spell, the target regains additional HP equal to 2 times the spell level. So if you use a level 3 healing spell, for instance, you'll get an additional 6 HP when you heal them, which is great. More healing is better. Level 2, Preserve Life is your Channel Divinity. You restore hit points 5 times your Cleric level to 1 or more allies within 6 tiles, up to half of their hit point maximum. So it's just a massive burst of healing. Level 6, you get Blessed Healer. When you cast a spell of first level or higher that restores hit points to a creature other than yourself, you regain hit points equal to 2 times the spell level. So when you heal someone else, you also heal off it. Cool. Level 8, Divine Strike. Plus 1d8 radiant damage on weapon attacks once per turn, so similar to the Battle Cleric, can do the same thing. And then we move on to the Oblivion subclass. The Oblivion domain shows darker aspects of Mariak, that of the Goddess of Death. Clerics who choose this domain consider life and death as part of the same greater cycle, and use necromantic spells as well as any other. So you get, at level 1, Sleep and Inflict Wounds. At level 3, Blindness, Ray of Enfeeblement. Level 5, Vampiric Touch and Fear. Level 7, Black Tentacles and Confusion. And level 9, Contagion and Cloud Kill. Gatekeeper. As long as you are conscious, you and your fellow party members within 6 cells have advantage on death saving throws. Weird that it specifies that you do as well, because you're not making a death saving throw unless you are unconscious already, right? Oh, that's strange. You get Chill Touch as a bonus cantrip. Level 2, you get Herald of Pain. Channel Divinity cause pain to enemies within 6 cells. Enemies failing a Wisdom save receive 1d8 necrotic damage and are poisoned. Damn. And Peaceful Rest, while camping reduces the chance of being attacked and prevents from being surprised. Very cool. Level 6, you get Strike of Oblivion. 1d6 necrotic damage on the first attack of your turn. Okay. Mark of Fate. Mark a creature you see so it receives additional damage from each attack. It's like a Hunter's Mark type thing, and level 10, Divine Intervention as well. And then we have the Insight domain, which is a bit interesting. It's a lot of out-of-combat stuff. The Insight domain focuses on learning, memory, and deduction. For those who embrace this domain are renowned for their knowledge and wisdom. So you get, at level 1, Detect Evil and Good and Identify. Level 3, you get Find Traps and See Invisibility. Level 5, you get Slow and Remove Curse. Level 7, you get Identify Creatures and Phantasmal Killer. And level 9, you get Disperse Evil and Good and Dominate Person. Divine Intuition. Advantage on ability checks using Arcane, History, and Nature. Cool. Inspired Diplomat. You always know the odds when choosing between dialogue choices that include an ability check, Persuasion, Deception, or Intimidation. That's really cool. So if they're in your party, I assume it just works party-wide. If you've got like the choice to persuade them or deceive them or intimidate them, you can see what you need to roll to be able to actually get that. That's really cool. I like that. It's cool. It's a very tabletop ability, and I like that when they put that in video games. Level 2, Channel Divinity Foreknowledge. Channel Divinity to see the immediate future and dodge your enemy's attacks better. For 1 minute, the first attack, except shove, made against you after your turn suffers disadvantage. Oh, okay. So if you get attacked within the next minute, they have a disadvantage on the attack. That's cool. Advantage to detect traps, hidden doors, and objects, so you're good at seeing things. Divine Lore. You know all languages, written and spoken. In addition, you can identify a magical item once per long rest. Damn. So you can just, every language. That's insane. And you can cast Identify once per long rest without using a spell slot. Cool. Okay, that's the Cleric over. Definitely going to be the longest. That took like 20 minutes. But we've gone through everything with the Cleric, which means we can move on now to the Fighter. Whew. Fighters are one of the more basic classes. They're essentially just the martial class. You get saving throw proficiency in Strength and Constitution. You also get proficiency with light armor, medium armor, heavy armor, shields. as well as all simple weapons and all martial weapons. So you have proficiency with everything, which is cool. Any tool you can think of using as a weapon, you've got it. Smithing. You are trained to craft basic ammunition with smith tools, arrows, and bolts. Cool. So I guess you can craft arrows and bolts if you're a fighter. That's interesting. I guess rather than buying them, right? Cool. Fighter skills. Choose 2 of these skills. Acrobatics, animal handling, athletics, history, insight, intimidation, perception, and survival. You also choose a fighting style, which we can go into... I guess I do it now. Give me a sec. You also get second wind, so you regain 1d10 plus your level of HP as a bonus action. So you can just regain HP once. This is once per long rest, I believe. Maybe once per short rest? Can't remember. But let's go for the fighting style. It's kind of annoying to actually get to there, because I need to go forward a bunch before it lets me choose it. Here we go, fighting style. So we have archery. You gain +2 bonus to attack rolls with ranged weapons. Defense. While you're wearing armor, you gain a +1 bonus to your AC. Dueling. When you're wielding a melee weapon in one hand and no other weapons, you gain a +2 bonus to damage rolls with that weapon. Interesting. Great weapon fighting. When you roll a 1 or a 2 on a damage die for an attack you make with a melee weapon that you are wielding with 2 hands, you can re-roll the die. You must use the new roll even if it is a 1 or a 2. The weapon must have the 2-handed or versatile property for you to gain this benefit. So you do more damage when you're using a 2-handed weapon, effectively. We then have protection. So, when a creature you can see attacks a target other than you that is within 5 feet of you, you can use your reaction to impose disadvantage on the attack roll. You must be wielding a shield. And then 2-weapon fighting. When you engage in 2-weapon fighting, you can add the ability modifier of the damage of your second attack. There's some in-depth in the weed stuff here that I might go into when I actually build my fighter, but it's interesting. This one is by far the simplest and coolest. When you're wearing armor, you get +1 bonus to AC. It's awesome. Alright, we should be able to go back now. Cool. At higher levels. So at level 2, you get Action Surge, which means you can essentially just get another action. You regain your main action immediately, take a short or long rest to recover this power. So you can do an attack, use your Action Surge, do another attack. Martial Archetype, you choose your Martial Archetype, which with the subclasses, we'll go over those in a second. At level 4, you get an ability score improvement. Level 5, you get an extra attack. You can attack 1 more time per combat turn. When you use this attack or shove actions, so if you attack once, you can attack twice. If you use Action Surge, you can then do 2 more attacks. They can do a lot of damage, fighters. Level 6, you get the ability score choice. Choose between increasing your ability scores or getting a bonus feat. Level 8, choose between increasing your ability scores or getting a bonus feat. So level 6 and 8, you get additional points to put in, or you can choose a feat. And level 9, you get Indomitable. You can reroll a saving throw that you fail. If you do so, you must use the new roll, and you can't use this feature again until you finish a long rest. So essentially, you just get a redo on a failed saving throw, which is cool. On to the martial archetypes. There's only 3, I believe. There is. So we have the Champion. Improved criticals. When your weapon attacks score a critical hit on a roll of 19 or 20, ordinarily a 20 is a crit, you get a crit whether it's 19 or 20, so you're critting far more often, doing more damage. At level 7, add half of your proficiency bonus, round up, to any strength, dexterity, or constitution check you make that doesn't already use your proficiency bonus. In addition, both your jumping distance and climbing abilities increase too. It just makes you better at physical stuff, is the best way to describe this in a layperson's terms. Again, there's a lot of number crunching in here, but the basics of it is everything that has to do with like physical ability, you're better at. And then at level 10, you get an additional fighting style. So those fighting styles we went over before, like archery and defense and like stuff, you get another one at level 10. We then have the Mountaineer. At level 3, when you actually take the Mountaineer subclass, you have advantage to shove attempts when you're using a shield. So a chance to push enemies away, you get advantage on that when you are wielding a shield. Tunnel Fighter. When using a shield, you gain +2 AC when you have a wall on one of the 4 sides. That's interesting. So you're used to fighting in small areas, so you get extra defense when you're in a small area. I like that a lot, actually. That's really interesting. Level 7, you get Close Quarters. As a bonus action, you can force a switch of positions with an enemy within melee range by performing a strength versus strength or strength versus dexterity challenge, just like if you were shoving. You are not open to opportunity attacks by doing so. If successful, you have advantage to attack this creature until the end of your turn. That's interesting, so you can kind of like grab and like shift positions with somebody to like move them around the battlefield. That's really cool. And level 10, you get Shield Push. Provided you wield a shield, you can shove an opponent as a bonus action. Shoving is ordinarily like an attack, you can usually do it once. But I guess, interestingly, you can do it as a bonus action when you get hit level 10 as a Mountaineer. And then we have a Spell Blade, which are essentially magic fighters. Level 3, you can cast wizard spells and cantrips of the Conjuration, Evocation, Transmutation, and Enchantment schools. And Magic Weapon. Your weapon attacks count as magical against creatures that are resistant or immune to non-magical weapon attacks. Level 7, into the fray, you can use any melee weapon you are proficient with as a spellcasting focus for your wizard spells. You can perform their somatic components with the weapon instead of your hand. Additionally, being next to a hostile creature doesn't impose disadvantage on your ranged spell attack rolls. So essentially, you can use your sword or your weapon as the focus for casting your spells. It's cool. And level 10, you get Spell Tyrant. Target a creature and move it one cell in any direction if it fails a strength save. That's cool. So it's like a push from distance. That's interesting. Cool. So, that's the fighter done. Moving on, we have the Paladin. This is going to be a very long video. So, proficiency with Wisdom and Charisma saving throws. You also have proficiency with light armor, medium armor, heavy armor, and shields, simple weapons, and martial weapons. So, much with the fighter, you have proficiency with all of the weapons. Doesn't matter which one it is, you just have proficiency with all of them. You're also proficient with Athletics, Insight, Intimidation, Medicine, Persuasion, or Religion. You can choose 2 of those. You have Divine Sense, which will reveal celestials, fiends, or undeads that are around you. I think it kind of tells you the direction they're in, vaguely, and how many there are. Healing Pool, a pool of healing power, 5 points per Paladin level. Essentially, you can just touch a creature and heal them, any number of hit points you like, and you have a pool that you get replenished on long rest. So they're just kind of basic healing. Here you go, Lay on Hands. Spend points from your healing pool to restore lost HP. Neutralize Poison. You can spend 5 points from your Lay on Hands healing pool to neutralize 1 poison. And Cure Disease. Spend 5 points from your healing pool to cure 1 disease. Whew. High levels. Divine Smite. When you hit a creature with a melee weapon, you can spend 1 spell slot to deal 2d8 additional radiant damage, plus 1d8 per slot level above first. Plus 1d8 when hitting an undead or a fiend. Choose a fighting style as a specialty, we've already gone over fighting styles. And Paladin spellcasting. You can cast spells from a Paladin spell list. So once again, similar to Clerics, you choose a bunch of spells at the start of the day, they're the ones you can cast for the day. And level 3, we have Channel Divinity. You can use Channel Divinity actions once between rests. Sacred Oath. You select a swear and oath that binds you as a Paladin forever. Again, this is a subclass, we'll go over them in a second. Level 4, Ability Score Improvement. Level 5, Extra Attack. Level 6, Aura of Protection. Grants a saving throw bonus to your surrounding allies equal to your Charisma modifier, minimum of 1. Level 8, Ability Score Improvement, and then level 10 you have Aura of Courage. You and allies within 10 feet cannot be frightened while you are conscious. At 18th level, the range becomes 30 feet. Interesting. Maybe this does go to level 20. I assume maybe the base game goes to level 10 and they're planning on expansions that are going to go higher. We'll see. That's what they did with the original Baldur's Gate, right? It was 1 to 10, and then Baldur's Gate 2 was 10 to 20. I think is how they did it. Cool, so let's go over the Sacred Oaths. We have Oath of Devotion, Oath of the Motherland, and Oath of Tirmar. Oath of Devotion. At level 3, when you pick this, there is a list of spells that you will always have prepared. Level 3, you have Shield, Protection versus Evil and Good. Level 5, you get Lesser Restoration and Aid. And level 9, you get Dispel Magic and Revivify. You can also get Channel Divinity, Sacred Weapon. Channel Divinity to bless 1 weapon. For 1 minute, add your Charisma modifier to hit with that weapon, minimum plus 1. This weapon also emits bright light over 4 cells and dim light over 4 more cells, and its attack count as magical. So essentially, you imbue your weapon with magical power. It's really cool. Or holy power, I guess, technically. Channel Divinity, Turn the Unholy. Channel Divinity force fiends and undead within 6 cells who can see you to flee unless they make a successful wisdom saving throw. So this is very similar to the Cleric, except it also works on fiends. And level 7, you get Aura of Devotion. Friendly creatures in the aura cannot be charmed while you are conscious. So your aura is just more powerful. Oath of the Motherland. The spells you get are Bane and Burning Hands at level 3, Branding Smite and Scorching Ray at level 5. Level 9, you get Fireball and Dispel Magic. And Fiery Wrath is your Channel Divinity. Channel Divinity to target one creature within 12 cells, dealing 2d6 plus your Paladin level of fire damage, and setting the target on fire. It can make a DC 10 Dexterity check to put out the fire, or sustain 1d6 more damage per turn, if it wants to not spend its ability, its action, I suppose. It can make a DC 10 Dexterity check to put the fire out. That may just happen at the start of their turn. It's the writing on that is ambiguous, but I assume at the start of every turn they have to roll a Dexterity check to see if they put the fire out. We also have Fiery Presence. Channel Divinity to blind opponents within 12 cells who fail the Dexterity save. Creatures within dark vision or better sight in darkness have disadvantage. Blindness lasts 1d4 turns. That's interesting. So they make a Dexterity saving throw. If they fail, they go blind. But if they've got dark vision, then it's easier to blind them. I guess that makes sense. And level 7, you get Volcanic Aura. Friendly creatures in the aura gain fire resistance and +1 to their AC. And then finally, we have Oath of Tamar. When you take the Oath of Tamar, you acquire the Tamarian language. You get Sleep and Shield at level 3, Hold Person and Blindness at level 5, and level 9, you get Daylight and Slow. Channel Divinity, Golden Speech. Channel Divinity to gain advantage on Persuasion and Intimidation checks for 1 hour. Scourge of the Hidden. To deal 1d6 additional radiant damage on attacks which hit opponents with either natural shape-shifting or dark vision. 2d6 if both. The effects last for 1 minute. Interesting. And level 7, friendly creatures in your aura gain superior dark vision and +2 to perception. Very interesting. But that is the Paladin. Moving on, we have the Ranger. We're nearly halfway. So, you get proficiency with Strength and Dexterity. You'll also have proficiency with Light Armor, Medium Armor, and Shields, as well as all simple and martial weapons. So the only thing you don't have access to is Heavy Armor. Everything else you can use. Same with the Fighter, you can do Smithing, so you can make arrows and bolts. Rangers can choose 3 of the following skills: Animal Handling, Athletics, Insight, Investigation, Nature, Perception, Survival, and Stealth. You also can choose a Favored Enemy. You gain advantage on 1 ability check towards this creature type, and additional damage against it equal to your knowledge level. So you can choose a type of monster. You can see all of them here: undead, plants, ooze, monstrosity, giants, dragons, constructs, beasts. Essentially, you can just choose an enemy, and you're better at fighting them. And then we have Natural Explorer. You are adept at living and traveling in a certain type of terrain, and you can choose the different types of terrain there are here. This just means that a lot of the time it's easier for you to do survival checks and things when you're actually in these areas. At higher levels. At level 2, choose a fighting style as a specialty. Same as the Fighter and the Paladin there. And Ranger Spellcasting. You can cast spells from the Ranger spell list. Once again, it's a prepared list of spells that you do. You hit level 3, you get Primeval Awareness. Detects the presence of certain creatures types in your location, and you get to choose your Ranger archetype. Subclass, we'll go over those in a second. Level 4, Ability Score Improvement. Level 5, Extra Attack. Level 6, Favored Enemy. You get another Favored Enemy that you can choose. I believe you can choose the same animal type and it increases your knowledge, so you do even more damage against them. So you could do, like, dragons, for instance, you could do twice. And that would make you even better at fighting dragons. I believe it stacks, but I'm not entirely sure. Natural Explorer, you are adept at living and traveling in a certain type of terrain. You get another terrain type that you can choose. Level 8, Ability Score Improvement. And level 10, Natural Explorer. You're adept at living and traveling in a certain type of terrain, so you get another Natural Explorer terrain. And you get Hide in Plain Sight. You can spend 1 minute crafting camouflage for yourself. Once camouflaged, you gain +10 stealth while you are standing against a wall. You have to restart the camouflage every time you rest or move to another location. interesting. Essentially, it just makes it harder for you to be seen. We then go over the archetypes. So we have Hunter. At level 3, one of the following Hunter's specialties: Colossus Slayer, Giant Killer, or Horde Breaker. It doesn't go into these specifically here. Yeah, I won't go over all of them, but essentially they're specialties that you get that give you a little bonus. Level 7, you get Defensive Tactics. Choose one of the following options: Escape the Horde, Multi-Attack, Defense, or Steel Wall. Same thing here, there's a bunch of these little, they're like mini feats, effectively. Move on to Marksman, so the Ranger version, like the ranged version. Additional proficiencies: you're proficient with the Herbalist kit or the Poisonous kit, one of your choice. And you get Reaction Shot. When a visible opponent 2 cells or more from you attacks you with a ranged weapon or spell, you can use your reaction to take a shot after the triggering attack. And level 7. When you are within melee range of an enemy creature, you can use your bonus action to move 1 cell without provoking opportunity attacks, and gain advantage on the next attack with a ranged weapon this turn. So you can essentially just disengage for free, and it gives you advantage on that person if you attack them with range. And we get Recycler. You can craft arrows every time you take a short or long rest. Cool. And then we have Shadow Tamer. When in dim or light or darkness, you get advantage on dexterity saving throws. When attacking a creature with superior dark vision with a weapon, you add your proficiency bonus to your attack. Interesting. I guess this is like the Deep Stalker, or their homebrewed version of the Deep Stalker. It's cool. Level 7. Target a creature and attempt to pull it if it fails a strength dexterity. Cool. And Know the Darkness. While in dim or no light, you have advantage on stealth, perception, investigation checks, and gain Tremor Sense. Oh my god. So Tremor Sense essentially lets you see through vibrations, which is interesting. It's almost like, was it Toph from Avatar: The Last Airbender? It's a similar thing to that. It's very interesting. You can't see things that are completely still, but if things are moving around you, you can see them effectively. It's cool. Alright, Ranger done. Moving on to the Rogue. Proficiency with Dexterity and Intelligence. You get light armor proficiency as well as simple weapons, and then a selection of martial weapons, specifically longswords, rapiers, and short swords. You have proficiency with Thieves' Tools, which is for lockpicking and things like that. And you can choose 4 of the following skills: Acrobatics, Athletics, Deception, Insight, Intimidation, Investigation, Perception, Performance, Persuasion, Sleight of Hand, or Stealth. Smithing, once again, you can create arrows or bolts. I'm assuming this is a relatively big thing in this game, just because, like, I think 4 of the classes have had it so far. You also get Expertise, so 2 of your proficiency skills or tools, and or proficiency for your skills or tools, and you can double that proficiency bonus for them. Making you very, very good at them. And we have Sneak Attack, the bread and butter. 1d6 extra damage, plus 1d6 for every 2 levels, to one creature you hit with advantage using a finesse or ranged weapon, once per turn. No need for advantage if the active ally is next to the target. So, if you have advantage, you get Sneak Attack damage, or if one of your friends is standing next to the target, you also get Sneak Attack damage. At higher levels. Level 2, you get the Cunning Action. You can take a bonus action on each of your turns in combat. This action can be used only to take the Dash, Disengage, or Hide action. So Dash, Disengage, and Hide ordinarily are actions. For a rogue, they are bonus actions. So you can still attack after doing one of these. Level 3, you get to choose your subclass. Level 4 is Ability Score Improvement. Level 5, you get Uncanny Dodge. When an attack that you can see hits you... When an attacker that you can see hits you with an attack, you can use your reaction to halve the damage that the attack does. Very, very good. Level 6, you get 2 more expertise points, so 2 more of your skills will get extra double proficiency. Level 7, you get Evasion. When you are subjected to an area of effect that allows you to make a dexterity saving throw to take only half damage, you instead take no damage if you succeed on a saving throw and only half damage if it fails. This is very, very good at high-level D&D, because there's a lot of things that do big area of effects, like fireball spells, or, I don't know, a Red Dragon's Fire Breath. If it tries to hit you with Fire Breath, if you get your dexterity saving throw through, you take no damage from it, you somehow completely avoid the Fire Breath. It's very, very good. And level 8, you get Ability Score Improvement, and level 10, you also get an Ability Score Improvement. So, we go over the roguish archetypes. We have Thief at level 3. Cunning action allows you to take the use an object action, so it gives you more versatility in your cunning action. Second story work, climbing no longer costs you extra movement. Difficult climb surfaces you consider normal for you, and you can jump longer distances. And level 9, you get Supreme Sneak. You have advantage on stealth ability checks. And then we have Dark Weaver. Level 3, you get proficiency with the Poisoner's Kit. Assassin subclass, I guess. Spider on a wall. Climbing no longer costs you extra movement, and difficult climb surfaces are considered normal for you. And Predator. When hitting an enemy on lower ground with a ranged weapon, add your proficiency bonus to the damage. Cool. And level 9, Poisonous. When you hit with a melee weapon and deal at least 1 point of damage, your target must make a con saving throw of DC 13, or they will be poisoned for 1 hour and make an additional 2d6 damage. That's interesting. And then we have Shadowcaster, which I guess is like the magic rogue. Level 3, cast wizard spells and cantrips from the Divination, Illusion, and Necromancy and Abjuration schools. Shadow Dodge. As a bonus action, teleport to a cell you can see within 5 cells. Recharges after a rest. Cool. Short range teleport. And level 9, Shadow Retribution. If you are targeted by a damaging spell, whether it damage you or not, you can cast a cantrip in reaction to the caster. Cool. Okay, that is the rogue done. Moving on to the sorcerer. This one is completely new to me because it's like it's a new class. As you can see, it's been added since I last played the game. And I haven't played the game since release, so there's going to be a lot of new stuff for me. Class, Sorcerer. You get Constitution and Charisma saving throws. Sorcerer weapon proficiencies. You have Dagger, Dart, Quarterstaff, Light Crossbow. You have no armor proficiencies. And you can choose 2 of the skills of Arcana, Deception, Insight, Intimidation, Persuasion, or Religion. You can cast spells from the Sorcerer spell list. You have been trained to brew herbal remedies that use enchanting equipment. Interesting, you get magical crafting. And Sorceress Origin. Different sorcerers claim different origins for their innate magic. So that is your subclass, which we'll go over in a second. At higher levels. Level 2, Sorcery Points. A pool of internal power which can be used to alter magic spells. 1 per sorcerer level. Restored at long rest. Flexible casting. Allows the conversion of spell slots into sorcery points and vice versa as a bonus action. So the actual effects you get with these sorcery points, you probably won't. We'll go over, if I have a sorcerer, we'll go over when we actually level them up. Level 3, you get Meta Magic. The ability to twist your spells to suit your needs. You gain 2 Meta Magic options of your choice. These use the sorcery points. The sorcery points are like a resource that you use to cast your Meta Magic or to get spell slots back. Ability score improvement at level 4, 8, and at level 10, you get more Meta Magic options. For the Sorcerer's Origin, we have the Draconic Bloodline. Draconic Bloodline Origin spells. In your list and always prepared, you have Shield, Misty Step, Counterspell, Greater Invisibility, or Hold Monster at the levels you can see there. And you get Dragon Ancestor choice. Select a type of dragon and an associated damage type as your ancestor. You can speak Draconic. And you gain Resistance. You gain 1 additional hit point per level of your armor class is 13 plus dexterity bonus when you are not wearing armor. So you're hard to hit. This Dragon Ancestor, by the way, what it actually does is give you resistance to that damage type. So if you choose Gold Dragon, for instance, who have a Fire Breath, it gives you resistance to fire. At level 6, you get Elemental Affinity. When dealing spell damage matching your Draconic Ancestor, you add your Charisma modifier to the total, so you're doing more damage with... Okay, say you got a Blue Dragon, Lightning. You're doing more lightning damage if you're using a lightning spell. And Draconic Resistance, you gain resistance to the damage type of your ancestor for an hour at the cost of 1 sorcery point. Interesting, I think that's a nerf off normal D&D. Interesting. Mana Painter. Interesting. What does it say? Born out of the mana starvation that followed the Cataclysm, certain dwellers of Solasta learn to drain magic from all that surrounds them, locations, objects, and even people. They learn to channel scarce mana to cast spells, creating potions or scrolls, whereas their enemies call them mana stealers, they are truly artists of magic. So you get Entangle at level 1, Barkskin at level 3, Sleet Storm at level 5, Fire Shield at level 7, and Conjure Elemental at level 9. And your Charisma modifier is used, if higher, instead or other ability modifiers on your saving throws against spells and other magic effects. Interesting. So all of your saving throws end up being charisma saving throws. Against spells or other magic effects, okay. So not all of them, but the ones that are against spells. That's actually really cool. Level 2, you get Mana Drain. Make a melee spell attack. On a successful hit, the target creature takes 1d10 plus your charisma modifier force damage, and you regain 1 sorcery point. You need to take a short rest to recover this power. Okay, so you can steal mana from people, that's cool. And Mana Trap. When you finish a short rest, you can regain a number of sorcery points equal to half your sorcerer level, rounded up. You must complete a long rest to use this ability again. Okay. And then Child of the Rift. Another effect of the Rift at its cataclysmic closing was that some people around it were affected in their blood, gaining an innate ability to cast spells, but in an instinctive way. The very nature of the Rift also changes them deeply, as they are not only flesh and blood, but also mana, light, and shadow. Interesting. Level 1, you get Guiding Bolt. Level 3, you get Aid. Level 5, you get Daylight. Level 7, you get Banishment. And level 9, you get Greater Restoration. Immediately after you cast a Sorcerer spell of level 1 to 5, roll 1d20. If you roll a 20, your spell slot is not spent. Cool. That's awesome. Level 2, Rift Deflection. You can use your bonus action to spend 1 sorcery point to become harder to hit and achieve better saving throws until the start of your next turn. And Offering of the Rift at level 6. You can use your bonus action to sacrifice 5 hit points in order to regain immediately 1 sorcery point. The sacrifice hit points are recovered after a long rest. Interesting. So it's like blood magic almost, out of like, what's that Dragon Age? You can like use your health to fuel your magic. That's cool. Alright, Sorcerer done. We move on to the Wizard. So, the Wizard has proficiency with Intelligence and Wisdom saving throws. They can use daggers, darts, quarterstaffs, and light crossbows. They get to choose 2 skills in Arcana, History, Insight, Investigation, Medicine, and Religion. And they can cast spells from the Wizard spell list. You can also do ritual casting with spells that have the ritual tag. And you can, similar to the Sorcerer, you can do magical crafting, so you can train to scribe magic scrolls and use enchanting equipment. That's cool. At higher levels. Level 2, you get Arcane Tradition. Grant you specialization with a certain kind of magic, so that's a subclass, effectively. Arcane Recovery. Once per day, when you complete a short rest, you can recover a number of expended spell slots, max of 5th level, up to half of your wizard level, rounded up. And level 4, you get Ability Score Choice, so you can choose between increasing your ability scores or a bonus feat, and the same thing at level 8. So, looking at the Arcane Traditions, we have Shock Arcanist, Lawmaster, and Green Mage. So, a Shock Arcanist. Level 2, Arcane Warfare. When casting spells from the war list... Interesting. They count as being cast at 1 slot level higher than the one you are actually using. Huh. But so for Burning Hands, Magic Missile, Thunderwave, Acid Arrow, Scorching Ray, Flaming Sphere, Fireball, Lightning Bolt, Ice Storm, and Cone of Cold, they're always cast at 1 level higher. That's really cool. That's really cool, actually. And that from level 2? Huh. I like it. Level 6, Arcane Fury. Add your proficiency bonus and intelligent bonus to your evocation spells, damage for a minute, recharges after a long rest. So you just do more damage with your damaging spells, effectively. And then at level 10, you get Arcane Shock. You overcharge your mana and become restrained until the end of your turn. However, when you cast an attack spell, your damage dice are always above average. In return, you make a con saving throw, DC 14, and take 2d6 psychic damage if you fail. And wizard weapon proficiencies, Constitution, I don't know what that means. I guess you get proficiency with Constitution, it's just a typo. But you get proficiency with Constitution, which means your concentration checks are easier. However, when you cast an attack spell, your damage dice are always above average. Does that mean the minimum you can roll, say you got like a d6 damage, or a d4 damage die, does that mean you always do 4 to 8? Rather than 1 to 4? Because if so, that's like, that can increase your damage a shitload. Next we have the Lawmaster. Level 2, you get Keen Mind. Advantage on Arcana, History, and Investigation checks. Advantage to copy scrolls to your spellbook. Scroll and potion crafting cost and times are halved. Spell Academic. You learn 1 additional spell each time you gain a level. That's cool. And level 10, you can add your proficiency bonus to the number of spells you can memorize. You can also learn 2 additional cantrips from the wizard list. Oh, okay. So you can just memorize more spells. Cool. Green Mage. Spells from the green magic list are considered wizard spells for you. Animal Friendship, Detect Poison and Disease, Entangle, Fairy Fire, Goodberry, Hunter's Mark, Longstrider, Barkskin, Pass Without a Trace, Lesser Restoration, Find Traps, Protection from Poison, Conjure Animal, Create Food, Daylight, Windwall, Giant Insect, Freedom of Movement, Identify Creatures, Contagion, and Insect Plague. So these are a bunch of Hunter spells, as well as Cleric spells. There's a couple in there as well. But essentially you can cast them as a wizard, which is cool. Smithing are trained to craft basic ammunition, so you can make arrows and tools. So same as a bunch of the other classes in here. Warden of the Forest. You get proficiency in light armor, so you can wear armor as a wizard. That's cool. As well as proficiency with a short bow, and you get the fighting style of archery. Damn. Natural Explorer. You benefit from the same advantages as rangers when you're in a forest environment. This is interesting. It's like a martial wizard. Level 6, you get Entangling Shot. Your arrow can transform into a vine on impact. The target must make a strength saving throw or be restrained until the end of the next turn. You can use this feature a number of times equal to your intelligence modifier, a minimum of 1. All users recharge at the end of a long rest. That's cool. And then level 10, you get Leaf Scales. When an attacker that you can see hits you with a ranged attack or spell, you can use your reaction to halve the attack's damage against you. Cool. So you just halve the damage. Cool. So that is all of the classes done. It's going to be an hour-long video. And then go to the background. These are essentially just, it fills out the personality of the characters you create. I won't go through all of these specifically, because a lot of them are self-explanatory. So this is your background. You can then choose good or evil attributes and base attributes depending on which one you choose. It fields out how they talk and react to people in cutscenes and dialogue and stuff is pretty much what I get from this. Also determines how much money you have and a couple of other items. It's a really cool thing that they've got in here. I like the fact that they've got it in here, but it's interesting. I don't know how much it's going to play a part. We'll see when we play through, I suppose. Next we have ability scores. You can roll ability scores, you can re-roll as much as you like. There's no downside to doing so, I don't think. You can also do point buy if you prefer. So you start with 27 point pool and you just add points as you go. I think I'll probably roll because it's more interesting. I have to actually apply these, don't I? Next, we have our proficiencies. So you can just choose your proficiencies. The ones that you can choose will be highlighted depending on your choices in the previous sections. So you can see here I can choose Arcana and that, and then we can choose language, all that kind of stuff. Moving on, we have our spell selection. I won't go through all of these, but depending on what class you are, you can choose spells. I'll go over this when I actually create my characters. And then, well, I guess I have to choose a bunch here, don't I? And then we go identity, which is character creation, and you can actually change what you look like. But that's everything for this video. That ended up being an hour-long video. I'm surprised it was that long. But this is essentially the episode 0 of this playthrough. I'm going to have a... I don't think I'm going to go through and create my characters, but I'm going to show you my created characters in the next episode. But with that, that's going to be it. If you like this video, please leave a like. If you're not subscribed, please consider subscribing. And as always, thanks for watching, and I shall see you next time, where we actually start our playthrough properly. We'll do a character creation, all that kind of stuff, and then we'll actually go into the game itself. Anyway, thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you next time.